Hey guys, so I realized we didn't formally write out the domain and range, so let's just go ahead and do that really quickly from the previous video. So we could literally write our domain maybe D equals, and this is a set, right? This is set of numbers, so -2, comma 1, comma 4. So this is the elements in the domain, or the numbers, right, inside the domain are these three numbers in our example. And then the same kind of thing for the range. We could write this as a set, right? The set -2, comma -1, comma 0. And do they have to be any particular order? Not necessarily. It's probably good to have them in order from least to greatest if you have a finite set of numbers. So we've got our domain and range there. Okay, so on to the next type of problem. Here's a little word problem kind of setup. So Alex's cell is on a family plan with 10 gigabytes of data to share. The more data he uses, the less his family has to use. So the more he uses, the less his family gets, right? So if he's streaming videos and on Pandora and YouTube, all day, then his family is going to get really angry because he's using all the data. So what are the independent and what are the dependent variables? And I put them in green and red just like last time, right? Independent is what we choose, right? What we choose, and dependent is what we get after we put in the choice that we made. So our independent is what we choose. So it's the thing that causes an outcome. So what here causes something to happen? All right, we've got this data. Alex is using data. So let's think of an example. Okay, Alex doesn't go on any videos, doesn't stream any videos, doesn't stream any audio. He's only checking his email. What is this? We choose this thing, right? All right, he's using very little data. And what happens? What's the outcome? What's the outcome? Well, his family gets a lot more gigs to share between them as opposed to Alex using it. The other situation, all right, Alex, like I was saying earlier, he's streaming video every day, and he uses like all of the data. What's the outcome? His family gets no data, so they're stuck having to use Wi-Fi and pull over to the nearest Starbucks in order to even get Google Maps. So what's the one we're choosing? The event we're choosing is Alex's data use. So that's what we're starting with. Okay, assume Alex uses so much, blah, 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 right? Then something happens. If this, then that, right? So the if this part is this is the independent variable, right? And what happens, okay, what's the dependent? What ends up happening? Okay, well, Alex's data use and affects, what does it affect? It affects his family's available. Sorry. We could just say his data use. All right, affects his family's data use, right? How much his family can use. So Alex's data use is independent, and the effect is that his family can use less or more data for that month. Okay, so let's move to the next part of this problem. So what are the domain and the range? Okay, well, domain, remember domain, this has to do with what values can we put in as for our independent. So these are related to each other, independent variable and the domain. But the domain is just specifically which numbers can we put in, or which values, or what stuff can we put into this relationship. And the range, again, trying to color coordinate this stuff, is dependent, right? Dependent, right? What happens, or what are the, and again, is it just possible values, right? The actual values, or what can happen, like specifically what can happen. Okay, well, let's take a look back. Family's on his cell phone's on a family plan with 10 gigs of data, with 10 gigs of data total, right, to share. So what does that mean for what we can put into this equation, or not equation, but relationship? So what does that mean for our domain? Like, what can Alex use? What are his possible numbers that he can use? Well, he could use no data, all right, no data, 0, and he could use all the data, right, or something in between there. So he could use all 10 gigs of data, right? And when we list the domain, we're gonna put as this is like an interval notation. We'll go over this stuff a little later, so don't worry too much about the notation. But we're going from we can put in anywhere between 0 and up to 10, but we can't do 20, right? Because his plan doesn't allow for 20. So we can go from anywhere from 0 to 10. All right. So how about the range? And the range is kind of similar, really. But here, let's go check back again. We've got our 10 gigs. We've got our 10 gigs, right, to share with the family. So similar kind of thing. And it just depends on how much Alex uses, right? So for our range, if Alex uses all of the data, if Alex uses all 10 gigs, then what does the family get? The range gets no data, right? If Alex uses everything, the family gets nothing. And similarly, if Alex uses nothing, the family gets all of it. So the range is also 0 to 10, but they're kind of related to the opposite, right? So the 10 would be an outcome. Oh, I should write it this direction, right? If he used 0 data, the family would get all 10. If he uses 10 gigs, the family gets 0, right? So that's kind of the relationship here. Okay, and finally, let's draw 2 possible graphs representing the relationship between Alex's use and his family data use. Okay, so let's remember our independent variable is our x-axis, right? So we're just making these graphs up. We're just making these things up, and trying to draw something that might kind of make sense. And his family, the dependent, what the outcome is the y-axis. So you can label these y and x if you want, and then you could even write Alex's use and family. If I turn this family use. Okay, so what happens? All right. Well, if Alex uses, let's go by maybe 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, remember 10's our greatest. So actually, we could even cut off this whole thing because it doesn't even go any further than 10. So technically, we could just truncate it right there. But let's just leave it for now. In the event that maybe they upgrade and go to more data use. Okay, so maybe Alex uses 0. So let's put a couple points in that makes sense here. Alex maybe uses 0 data. Okay, so his family gets to use all 10. So good, there's a point right there, right? If Alex uses 2, how much does his family get to use? Okay, 2 plus 8 is 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So here's another value we get. All right, if Alex uses 4, his family gets 6. 2, 4, 6. So there's another data point. And you can see how this is going to work. So we keep going down, and one more. And then finally, Alex uses all the data, and how much does his family get? None. Zip. 0. Okay? So we can say this may be Alex's use graph, and it's kind of a straight line, really. This is one graph. Alex is using this much data, and this is the month, relationship between the two. And I'm running out of time here, so let's just stick with this one graph. It works fine. This is his use and his family's use, and call it a day. So let's quickly just remember this stuff, that domain is independent variable, range is dependent, what you get out of it, okay? Great.